If you've accepted the Lord one time in your life, but you did what I did and you just kind of wanted God to just poof, wave the magic wand and make everything okay, and you're just sort of floating along and not understanding why you're not experiencing God, live your life for Jesus Christ. Make the decision, in your heart and then vocally, and tell the Lord that you want to live your life for Him from this day forward. And don't be, wishy-washy with your walk. Talk about what you believe. Talk about what Jesus Christ did in your life. And you know what? He's going to come. You will experience God, and He will be able to deliver you from any kind of problem that you have. And if you've never accepted the Lord, by all means, I'm telling you, and if you don't know for sure, just try it and just ask Him. Just say, if you're there, Jesus Christ, if you are there, ask Him to come into your heart, and He will. Ask Him to reveal Himself to you, and He will. I don't care if you're addicted to drugs or pornography or your marriage is over with. Even if you're divorced, it doesn't matter. If you don't know your teenager, you don't know your mom and dad, and you feel like you're insignificant, you're not insignificant. You are very significant in God's eyes. He loves you, and I'm telling you what, Jesus Christ is real, and He wants to save your life right now. Just open your heart up to Him like I did, and I promise you, God will come.
It broke down that fourth or fifth wall to tell people the truth about my Lord and Savior, how, you should look at things or how you should care for people and not judge people. And it set me free. It wasn't that perfect vessel that I should be or should have been. Once I was baptized, I felt I was all anew. It really was a major pivot in my life.
So she says, would you please just come to church with me one time? I'm like, babe, look, I'm going to walk in there and the rafters are going to start shaking. And I believe in God. I'm good. I don't want to, it's not going to work. But she was very persistent, and she wanted me to be the man that I could be. And that has nothing to do with being the Undertaker.
That's right.
And so I went, and it was just the perfect circumstance at the perfect time. She pushed me, and I went reluctantly, but once I got there, and I grew up Catholic, and so I'm thinking to myself, man, I don't want to kneel, I don't want to get down on the pew. I mean, after 17 surgeries, you can figure my body doesn't really feel good all the time. So I'm like, so there were no pews, there were no, I didn't know, there was no kneeling and everything. And I just had this, once again, it was kind of like the Eggman deal. Like I was getting myself worked up, right? Yeah. Because I was thinking, okay, all right, pastor's gonna see me and he is just gonna throw fire and brimstone right at me. Boom, sinner, and it wasn't nothing like that. Mac and Julie and his family, they were really awesome. And it was more like of a conversation, And I found myself from being, kind of tense and pensive to kind of leaning in and like, wow, this is pretty cool. Wow. And that started my journey.
Yes.
Back to leading my life the way I should.
Yes.
Lo and behold, one day I find myself in the parking lot of Cornerstone Church. I'm drawn to this place. I know that the good Lord is trying to tell me something, and I know it's in that big building. And I say, look, I'm looking for a Bible study. The lady looks up at me, and I think she thinks at first I'm there to rob the place. This gentleman sticks his head out of his office. He's their computer guy. He says, you can come to mine. And he goes, Wednesday night, 7 o'clock up, I'll give you directions to my house. Well, he tells me, look, Shawn, to be a part of this Bible study, you've got to accept Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior. Would you like that? And I said, something, I think I would. He leads me in the sinner's prayer, and I just weep like a baby. This feeling comes over me that they discipled me. My life was never, it's never been the same. I never touched another drug. It's so funny, I came home, I'm like, oh my goodness, the greatest thing ever. I'm driving home. I come in the door. I said, honey, I know what it is. It's Jesus. I'm saved. And I tell her everything that happened. She looked at me and she goes, I know. I said, what do you mean? I said, this whole time I've been trying to figure out. She said, look, I've known all along. She said, but you needed to find this on your own. She said, I was just so worried that if I pushed you, it wouldn't happen. And then she begins to tell me how all those nights after I passed out, she'd go in the closet, she'd pray for me. You know what I mean? And of course, it is, whatever it is, 15 years later. And I still get, I'm just holding them back. I'm holding them back. When I was a horrific wretch, didn't pine away at me, she went in there, into that closet, and prayed for me. I don't think there's any greater thing you can do for somebody.
I said, how, what do I do? He said, Ted, Jesus said the truth that set you free. Never said it'd be easy. Never said it'd be painless. Said it'd set you free. He said, if you'll trust him today like you did when you were a kid, when you were 15, he knew my story. When you go to that desert cemetery, he said, he'll hear you. He'll forgive you. He'll restore you. He said, he never left you. You left him. And all these years, he's been trying to draw you back. And then he said, remember, Jesus is both fully God and fully man. So being fully God, he's the God who put every star in the sky, knew when you'd take your first and last breath and everything you would do in between. And he's the God who, if you were the only man who ever lived, still would have stepped down off the throne of heaven and died on the cross just for you. And even as I say that to you now, and I tell this story so many times, I almost tear up and cry, because the realization that there's a God that big who could love me that much. And as I looked at my life and realized how many times I had abused that, just trampled the blessing, and you still love me, God.
I've had a lot of injuries in my career. I've also had a lot of setbacks, especially with addiction. I suffered a while, but I turned my life to Christ, and he made me strong and steadfast. And that enabled me to overcome my addiction, to overcome my injuries, and to remain strong in his glory. So I give God all the credit for what I've been able to overcome.
I was in jail on drug charges, and I met this chaplain guy kept on trying to talk to me. I was basically like an agnostic atheist guy, didn't grow up in church, and he took me to a church service when I got out. He tracked me down and wanted me to work him out. I thought I'd run him out of the gym. I couldn't get rid of this chaplain guy. I thought I'd like make him so sore doing lunges and squats, and we ended up hanging together. He invited me to a Sunday night church service one. Dr. Frady ended up becoming my earthly spiritual dad, did a message on, are you standing on the rock or the sand? And I realized that, man, our careers change, our finances change, people change in our lives. And there's really, my whole life has been based on shifting sand. That was the message. Or are you going to base your life on the eternal rock, meaning Jesus? And a week later in a hotel room, I committed my life to Christ, and my whole life transformed. I realized there's a much bigger purpose in life than just ourselves. We're here to serve others. Used to be myself and I realized now it was Jesus, others, and then you, the joy formula, J-O-Y. And it just gave me a whole new, bigger purpose of why I'm here in my life.
I haven't had this kind of peace in a long time. You know, and there's no money, no material, no person, not even my children that can cure that pain and that emotional distress that I was in. Just the understanding of my God, you know, the understanding of Christ and that I believe in. And that's the only thing that where I find peace, and that's where I'm back at, you know.